We're tackling a tough subject today, animal cruelty and neglect.
Yeah, we have two women who are in the trenches of this battle. They're going to show us the disturbing and often graphic extent to this problem and how you can get involved.
Let's get started. I'm Michelle, a longtime realtor.
I'm her husband, Mark, a television news anchor.
Together, we've started a podcast.
And we want to hear from you. So, let's talk. This is one of these issues and problems that a lot of people know exist, but they choose for whatever reason not to address it. And we have two guests today who have been addressing and dealing with this issue and educating the public about animal cruelty and abuse and neglect for many, many years. We have Jan Lavender Sullivan and Jamie Suarez with the Oklahoma Alliance for Animals. We're talking about animal cruelty and neglect. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having us.
First of all, what is the difference between animal neglect and animal cruelty?
Animal neglect is someone basically that is not providing the proper care for an animal. It could be, maybe they have an illness or a wound and they just probably most of the time they don't have the money to take care of that. So they don't, it's not really intentional a lot of times. You can just kind of talk to them and offer them the resources that they need to help that pet. Animal cruelty is blatantly doing something that's cruel to an animal that is putting an animal in danger or, could possibly harm the animal or even death.
Is that always intentional?
Usually. Mm-hmm. I would say 90% of the time or 95% of the time. Our main purpose at the beginning was to increase spay and neuter, increase adoptions, to decrease euthanasia. There is a lot of cruelty in Tulsa, and especially in the rural areas of Oklahoma, because there are no shelters, and usually in the rural areas, you have to rely on the sheriff's department, if it's not in a city. So like if you're in, let's say, Osage County, but the property's in Tulsa, I have to wait for the sheriff from Osage County, wherever he's at, to respond to that call.
Do you always take in, can you go, if you know that there's cruelty at, like you were in that place last week in Turley, right?
That was in Leonard.
Leonard. So would you just go in, or do you have to wait for the sheriff?
No, that situation started right before the cold in February,
right.
the first snow. And I remember that this young lady had been around asking everybody for help, every rescue. I would see it all over Facebook, and people were tagging me like they always do and say, "What are you going to do about this?"
Who was this? Was this a neighbor or somebody who just saw it?
She was a neighbor. She was a girl that lived in Leonard.
Mm-hmm.
Very young girl, and I applaud her for staying with it. And to this day, she's feeding the dogs and trying to help care for them.
There were 10, right?
There were 29.
There were 29 because there were two that had babies because they weren't fixed.
Right.
Right.
Who do these dogs belong to?
These dogs belong to two homeless women, a mother and daughter.
They were squatting on a shed, right?
In an old dilapidated shed. And they've got the 10 dogs that we've helped, that we're still helping. We've got 2 of them off the property now, but they had them chained up with short chains inside. They won't let us go in the shed because probably it looks
small space.
It's unbelievable.
They're 70-pound dogs.
Yeah, it's a horrible way for a dog to be. But what I normally do is I will go out. I told them we don't have room. We don't have a shelter. We board our dogs at a vet's office, until we can find them placement with a regular adoption agency, like Tulsa SPCA is who I work with, Tulsa Humane, some of the other rescue groups. Mm-hmm. And they help me pull these dogs out after we vet them and look at them. And sometimes they'll do the vetting for me. But we went out and I said, okay, we looked at the dogs. Some of them were a little wild because they don't know any better. They're only 8 months old, these big dogs,
Wow.
but they weigh about 70 pounds. They're huge.
No socialization.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I go home dejected, and I'm like, oh, what am I going to do about this situation? Because I posted it, and I usually have pretty good luck with my connections and rescue, and I'll say, does anybody, we've got this situation, and I try to make it sound, like, please, I need help, if a rescue could just take one and work with one of them, we could find, they're different when they're in a different environment.
And you were saying that they were like 70 pounds at eight months, so they're not malnourished.
They didn't look malnourished.
They're being fed.
They're being fed by this girl.
By this young girl.
Oh, I see. Okay, but
She's there
that's
every
not
day.
really the situation you usually come across, right?
No.
Usually.
They're not in good shape. We've seen some horrible cases.
One of the worst cases of animal abuse was uncovered at a puppy mill in Oklahoma, Sequoyah County. The OAA took this video of some of the dozens of dogs rescued at a home near Sallisaw in 2020, including one so filthy, emaciated, and matted you couldn't tell it was a dog. The disturbing story was documented on the news.
With help from the Tulsa SPCA, the Forever Friends Humane Society, and the Oklahoma Alliance for Animals, Sequoyah County deputies seized 84 dogs from this property on East 1132 Road in the county.
This is a typical puppy mill that you would find just about anywhere. And this is what the puppy mill law in Oklahoma was made for, was this exact example.
The OAA said the dogs have spent their lives in cages, living in their own filth, only used to breed and make quick cash. Here's that matted mess, one of the worst cases.
You saw a bundle of matted fur that was indistinguishable as any kind of an animal other than just a ball of fur that was matted, wet, and we couldn't tell how emaciated it was because it was just a big round ball. All you could see is eyes and a nose.
Deputy Randy Freeman was an animal control officer for 15 years before working for the Sheriff's Department. He says this was one of the worst animal abuse cases he's ever seen.
There's 6 of them that if the rescue group was not here and taken them straight to a vet facility, we would have put them down before we even took them out of the house.
2 people were arrested on 84 animal cruelty charges. Of the 84 dogs rescued, 2 had to be euthanized. The rest went to rescue groups. As for this little guy, the OAA says he's living a royal life today.
And we also have a program called Unchain OK through OAA. Now that's probably our most loved program. And it's really hard, but me and Jan go out every weekend and we confront people, and that people call in. They call us and say, this dog's chained, it has no water, its chain is too...
Or the water's like right
Yeah.
here and they can't get to their water.
Exactly.
Or it's frozen. They have no dog house. They're on a 3-foot chain. They can't get into shelter. It's snowing. It's sleeting.
We don't want to change we have a good cruelty, statute. Talked to the director of the Humane Society of the United States, and she says, no, we have a great, don't.
Because it is a felony,
Yes,
right?
because it says all
Punishable
animals.
up to 5 years. And
Up to 5 years.
Right.
We just don't, I guess our system, the jails and all that are full, so they have to make decisions, are these cases, which one's more important? That's what
Right.
the DA is looking at. So, but it all starts with animal cruelty. These bad cases over here that you're dealing with, you look into.
because there is a link, a connection
Yes.
between somebody who is cruel to animals and then that leads to
Progression.
human violence.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Elder abuse,
It's
child
75%.
abuse.
Right.
No, it's 100%.
Is it really?
Yeah, it's 100%.
When I met Jan through real estate. This was years ago. And so I didn't know that much about the animal cruelty and what was going on here in Oklahoma until she told me what she does. And she goes out and she helps these animals. And then I had a listing way out in Tulsa somewhere. And I became more aware of it because I saw animals that were on chains like that. And I'd never seen anything like that before.
And
I just
Jan,
don't
you do
understand.
this every weekend. Pretty much every weekend you go out there. And you're a volunteer, right?
I'm a volunteer.
You don't get paid for doing this.
No,
Why do you do this?
I love it. I
It's
mean,
dangerous.
why?
It is
She's a
dangerous.
board member.
I mean, this
No,
is...
I'm a board member.
You're a board
But
member. It has to be disturbing, though,
It's
what you
so
see.
disturbing, but if you can help one, it's better than none.
Tell the story that when you called Mark for that news story about those animals on the side of the road.
A heartbreaking discovery in North Toll. 8 dogs dumped in trash bags on the side of the road.
So they picked up like 10 garbage bags with animals that were double bagged, some very fresh, like fresh as the day before, and some had decomposed. I mean, there was just like all levels of animals out there.
Why is everybody bringing their dogs out in this one particular area? They couldn't have all been hit by cars and people don't normally carry garbage bags in their cars to put a dead dog in. So, and one of them was laying on a blanket, wrapped up in a blanket. I don't know if it was what happened. We don't know. We don't know the cause of death.
There has to be something going on
Something.
there. It's not just, okay, my dog, something happened. They're bagged.
Yeah.
They're double bagged. They're in the same garbage bags. Some of them are wrapped in blankets. And then we go out there now, and there's no bags since it hit the news.
Oh.
So there's got to be a connection there.
Why do you think someone would be cruel to animals? Why do they do this?
Because they're mentally disturbed. I mean,
And let me back up when I said 100% a while ago. That's a statistic that is known in the link, okay? It's 100% of serial killers all started with animal abuse.
right.
Oh my gosh.
100% of those. So every one of them.
So let's get back to your last weekend. You were in Leonard with this situation. And how many, 29 you said?
Yeah, 29 was how it started.
What's going to happen with these animals?
What we're going to do, okay, the puppies, the 2 females, and however many puppies are over, Jan saw the puppies, they are going to care rescue. They're taking the puppies and one of the mothers, but they said one of the mothers was too shy, so they didn't want her. So now she's going to become one of our problems.
But she's come around, I think, a little bit.
I've never met that one, but
Sweet.
But we'll take her. I mean, we will find homes for these dogs as long as we can keep them on that property and we have room. Then we'll start moving them over to our vet's office to assess them to see if they're going to be good candidates with other families and dogs, and because we have to test them to see, if they're going to be adoptable and be able to go into another home, because you don't want to put an aggressive dog with anybody, I mean, and I don't want to see a dog chained the rest of their life. I would humanely euthanize a dog if I had to see some of the dogs that I told Jan I would rather not have them live if they had to live in the situations that
Imagine
we
living
see
in
them in.
Suffering.
No, it's free. There's freezing cold here. It's freezing cold or it's really hot,
We once had a situation where we were called out. This was kind of when we first started, and it was a white little pit, a little one,
No.
And somebody said it froze to death, and it was so cold, I remember. And we went out, and it was dead. It was frozen, and it looked like it had tried to dig a hole to try to get in the dirt to warm up.
killing me.
And it had eaten rocks. I mean, we have necropsies done to see cause of death before we can do anything like a prosecution, and TAW had come out and they were about to leave because they said we need bolt cutters. We can't get it, and nobody was home, And I said, no, do not leave, because the evidence will be gone tomorrow. That's your evidence right there. That's what's going to link us to doing something about this. And so I had to get on Facebook. I need bolt cutters over here. Of course, you have people that help, right away on Facebook. So they come, we get the bolt cutters, they take the body back, and then we get the necropsy done, and we get him, Now, I don't know. I don't think that he got much, but I think it's a start. If you
But it
start
makes you
sending
feel
that-
like you're doing something.
Yes,
Yeah.
if you get that message out and start showing people, look, we're taking this serious, You're gonna, it might be a slap on the hand and maybe probation or something, but let's start somewhere.
Do neglected animals, neglected dogs, feel pain and loneliness?
I'm sure they do. My
like
dog's
having
not
a little
neglected
kid.
it.
Yeah, a little
I mean,
kid.
they're they're like children.
Yeah.
They really are.
When you yell at your dog, that he knows.
They have unconditional
do.
love for you. And
When
if
you yell at
don't-
my dog, Baxter, he knows. Sorry, I'm lightening the mood. Sorry.
No, that's okay. My dog's neglected. She feels neglected when I leave her to go to work. I don't get home till late at night because I'm taking care of everybody else's
But
dogs.
we're not in the
But she has
mind of
people there
a
with her
dog
all
or an animal, so we don't know exactly what they're thinking and feeling. I mean, we know how we would feel. So, I mean, we see the physical scars of neglected and abused animals, but there are emotional scars that maybe last much longer than the physical ones.
When you can tell, when you go up to a situation, there's a dog, and they just have never had somebody touch them, and all they want is for you to touch them.
And then they start wagging their tail.
And then it's so hard to walk away.
I just couldn't do that. We'd have like 15 dogs in our house.
But then you have dogs like Sonny, the one, I don't know if you're familiar with that case, but the guy that was beating the dog, and it was on the news, and it was caught on what is the little camera, the Ring camera. One of our volunteers was so mad, he lives near there, so he just took it on himself. Saw the police, we matched up everything, we got the neighbor, reported it. We found them, 2 guys, but they were beating this poor dog, and this dog, Sonny,
4:00 in the morning,
is forgiven. I mean, is with a family now, a lovely family, and I think it's forgotten that part of its life, but it's still sad to see that, and to see people do that. And
why have a dog if you're going to beat it?
Is it difficult for neighbors to report on their neighbors?
sometimes.
I think they're scared,
Right.
especially
Sure.
in that area. We offer rewards. We don't tell anybody who it is.
So you can report anonymously. Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
But we drive around and we'll approach situations and just say, hey, we've been in the area.
Right.
We're driving around giving out dog houses and straw.
And food. You do
and
food.
food. And so they don't equate it with somebody has
Reporting
been reporting them.
Yeah,
So
right.
to
I
try to keep
understand
people
that.
safe.
And it's
Yeah.
usually a neighbor, and sometimes people say, it was my neighbor, wasn't it? They called in. I said,
Oh, my
no.
gosh.
I said, I'm just here because I'm, in the neighborhood, or I got sent by the organization. I don't act like I'm the president of the organization.
Right. Right.
I just act like, oh, no, I'm just here to help you.
You just happen to be in the
Yes.
neighborhood.
Because that's what we do. We troll around
And if they
Turley.
don't,
Exactly.
if they don't,
We got nothing better to do. Get our coffee and go to Turley.
Yeah,
It's
I
a
know.
good time.
and if they don't want something, and I see that they need a house, I said, but it's free. You should take it. People donate.
They
this
love
stuff.
free.
And,
Oh.
and
Yeah.
they said, oh, well, okay,
Yeah.
So you have to kind of play a game with them, and it's,
right.
oh my gosh, it wears you out, but it's worth it. at
So the
end of day.
donations that people can give to your organization, that's what you do with it.
Yes.
And vetting, tons.
And
I mean,
vetting, well, that's so expensive.
It
so
is.
expensive. Vetting, dog houses, straw, food, flea and tick, heartworm medication, all that stuff.
Yeah, it's expensive. We
Do you feel
that.
like you're
Very
putting
expensive.
a dent into this problem?
I do. I do think that, since we came on board, like I said, there was no messaging getting out. When we started, we put billboards out. We hired a director, and she was really good at getting information out. Spay Oklahoma was a little scared to put information out about spay and neuter because at that point, the veterinary community wasn't very warm about them coming and taking their business, at $200 a pop, and we're charging $30.
You were stepping on toes.
Yeah. So they would let us be their voice. I said, I'm not scared. I will be your voice, okay? Because we have to get this message out for people to get these animals fixed.
So what's your message to people watching this now or listening to this?
It's going to take us a little while. It's education. I think that we need education in the schools. I don't know how to get that done.
It's a great idea.
You know, when we do we were thinking about our capital campaign because we're looking for a building. Michelle, you can find me a building. And we are looking for a place we can call home, but we want to have like kid camps and things like that to educate people about animals, you know. And we also want to have classes for adults, like have a vet come in every month or so, or some speaker come in that it might be a topic that people don't know about heartworms. How do you get those? And what is, you know, or maybe
Parvo.
Yeah, parvo.
And they
distemper.
don't know what fleas can cause the diseases.
Yeah.
They don't know what, you know, mosquitoes.
Mosquitoes.
They don't have a clue.
Right.
Because when we go out, it's a lot of people just don't know where to go.
Hi, baby. I saw you live like this.
And you see people at like Walmart giving away animals, or, you know, that happens all the time. I got a cat that way. Remember?
I got a dog that way.
I love
Or
that.
they sell them.
Yeah, I love that little cat. Is that a no-no?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
It's a no-no because they are giving them away. They're not sterilized. You know, by the time you call animal control, they're out of there. You know, we used to scream at them, but, you know, my sister, she was kind of crazy. Like,
Right.
they parked down on, they were on 71st and Memorial, you know. And we started screaming. I said, get your head in the car and, you know, just stop
Funny.
it. It would just make you angry, you know.
Yeah.
But I said, you got to go differently, okay? Like, approach them differently and say, okay, well, I'll make a deal with you, sort of, you know. I won't call animal control, but if I know that you're giving these puppies away, can I give you a spay and neuter information for each one of them? And we will pay to have those dogs fixed.
Oh, that's great, yeah.
And it's important that you do that, you know, and I tell them why, you know.
The bottom line is we need to take care of the animals we have.
Yes.
And that's kind of the message.
And quit reproducing. I mean, you'll go to
Spay
these
and
houses
neuter.
and they'll say, we don't know what happened. We had 2 dogs. I'm like, you don't know what happened.
Right.
How many children do you have? How did that happen?
How did that happen?
It's the same way. You put a male and a female unaltered, you're going to have puppies.
Yeah.
Then those puppies are going to have puppies.
Yeah,
Now you got 50 dogs.
I know, you can't even afford that.
No, you can't afford your
Rent. Yeah.
Yeah.
We could go on and on.
Yeah, we
We
could.
could do this all day.
Yeah.
I know.
Okay. Jan and Jamie, thank you very much
Thank
for
you.
educating us and the public about the problem and putting a dent into it. I know it's not going to go away completely, though.
And
is
could
it?
you use more volunteers?
Always.
Okay, there you
Right.
go. If you have nothing to do,
Right.
like Jan, she has nothing to do. Just kidding.
And how would people learn about becoming a volunteer?
They would just go to our website, which is animalallianceok.org, and they can, you know, peruse and see what we do. And then there's a volunteer application on there, and they can choose what they want to do. We have things just as simple as walking dogs on Saturdays, some of the dogs that are in boarding, or they can go and be completely crazy like we are and do Unchain okay, which is probably the hardest part. But it's,
I love that you do that. It scares me to death. But Jan always says, Tell Bradshaw we're going to bring him, take him out there some weekend.
And imagine this coming weekend you're going someplace else.
Oh,
too.
yes. We'll probably go check on our Leonard dogs, and then we'll probably go out to North Tulsa. We haven't.
We kind of go out on calls, but you stop 10 times before you get to that call.
Yeah.
You're like, back up.
Wow.
Yeah, my sister's usually in the back seat, and she'll say, whoa, wait a minute. I saw something over here we need to take, look at. So
Yeah, you need blinders on until you, well.
And there's
yeah.
areas where you'll see 20 stray dogs just
running around.
And you can't
Right.
stop and take them all.
You get that on your way to the station. The dog that
Oh, yeah.
he has
You've
dogs,
got that area over.
Yeah.
It's pretty rough.
chases his car up the hill.
All right. That's happened before, yeah.
I know.
Many times, yeah. Well, good luck.
Thank you.
thank you.
Thanks, you guys.
We hope you've enjoyed our podcast and thank you for spending your time with us. We'll see you next time for another episode of Let's Talk.